So depending on how the budget shakes out, what other things are done, we would use anywhere from probably $1.2 to $1.6 million of that in 2018. Then going off into the future, obviously we don't have crystal balls. We don't know what's going to happen. There are many, many variables that go into it. It's going to depend on the service levels that you all demand in the city.
Welcome back to Talking Racine, where confusion reigns supreme. We're going to talk about a few things today. Hopefully we'll clarify some things for you. We're hoping to clarify them for ourselves because we don't understand some of this stuff. Right, George?
Whatever you say.
George Myers. George Myers.
Yeah.
He's denying that he doesn't understand. Mr. Jim Spodek, our producer.
Just don't understand.
I'm Dr. Ken Jorgen, totally confused, and your
We
host.
don't understand. We understand what it is. We're trying to figure out why it is.
Well, you just showed that clip right at the beginning of the show there of
did.
Mr. Dave Brown, the Director of Finance. And what did he have to say there? He was putting forth a pitch to get $4.5 million, wasn't it? Or was it $5 million?
Well, it was
lot
the
of
reserve
millions.
fund. It
Out
was
of the
the
reserve
reserve
fund,
fund.
yeah.
Right, right. And then now we are, obviously, we're short money.
Yeah.
Just what he had said. You know, you're going to have to make those decisions.
Alderman Sandy Widener was the one who asked him, okay, this is good for this year. What's going to happen in the future when this money is expended?
Exactly.
And he said, you guys will have to figure it out.
Right.
But he said it in a very nice way.
Right.
You know.
Right. But
And now's the time to figure it out.
right.
And what are they doing? What is one of the first things that they've
What are they
decided
figuring
they
out? How are they figuring it out?
Yep.
Where is there some money that they can get their hands on to cover this shortfall? Well, you know, they thought it was really important to give raises to Director of Finance, first and foremost, and several other people who are working down at City Hall. Nurses and engineers, I think they got like 25 or 50 cents an hour, and they were the ones that were used as an excuse to raise that money.
Right.
And now they're asking everybody, or they're telling everybody, well, the money to pay for this project, this increase in wages, is going to come out of your pockets. It's going to come out of the pockets of people who are buying health insurance that are city employees. And it's getting controversial, right, Jim?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Matter of fact, I mean, I just want to go through a little bit. It's the current proposal is to a single individual would have a $3,000 deductible. A family plan would be a $6,000 deductible.
Now, that doesn't seem crazily out of line with the marketplace. What are they paying right now, though?
Well, between $400 and $800 deductible. You know, it's a little variables in there, but this is considerable increase.
Yeah.
It is a lot. It's a lot to jump from one to the other. They're anticipating a $3.2 million savings. They're about $4.5 million short. They're still going to have to pick up $1 million, but it's really lying on the backs of the city employees. That would be the public works, the fire, and police.
And who are the ones in that population that are going to be the most impacted by this change?
Probably the people that have the lower income levels. I mean, because if I'm making $50,000 a year, and I've got a family, that's $6,000 that I'm going to have to come up with if I have health care.
Exactly, the people that need health care.
Exactly.
People that are struggling, they're probably compromised physically in some way, where it's difficult for them to function anyway because they got health issues.
Right.
Now it's going to cost them a lot more money to address those health issues.
And I think what this will do is eliminate a lot of people to say, hey, I can't afford to go to the doctor.
Exactly.
I can't
exactly.
have health care because it's too expensive for me to.
So they're
to go.
basically taking access to health care away from some people for sure.
They are, and I think on that lower waged person who needs this job more so, and I think George, you brought it up, chop from the top. Why are we not looking at other ways?
There's a lot of places to save millions of dollars. Unfortunately, you go to the least politically connected people to do it, which is generally the lower part of the organizational ladder, the structure. Which, let's face it, the cop on the street, the guy out picking up the garbage, that type of stuff, that's the bottom rung, and it's the bottom rung where all the work gets done too. You know, above that you get supervision. And I like what what Racine Unified did after many, many decades of this huge bureaucracy that I don't think they need at all, telling the teachers what to do after the teachers have gone to extensive education to learn how to teach. The teaching happens between the kid and the teacher. So what they did, they started chopping from the top, and they took out the first $4 million out of that administration, which is great. And there's a lot more room to do it. I maintain the same thing, not as obvious with the city, because that was just a huge bureaucracy, and they're all in one building, The teachers were spread out through the schools, and there was the administration sitting right there. Well, at the city, it's a little different structure. They tend to be spread out a little bit with the employees. I mean, there's some employees in City Hall doing things, but a lot of it's just administration, and there's lots of chop from administration. And there's also another very big piece to get a lot of money from that nobody understands, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's called the Capital Improvements Program. We spend money like crazy in there that we don't have to spend. And it was proven several years ago when there was a talk about changing the structure of the garbage pickup, the bulky waste pickup. So no trucks were bought for a year. And the city kept right on functioning.
Yep, it still works.
Yeah. Well,
$200,000.
Well, here's where I'm going to go.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I don't
you
want
got
to. I don't want this to show up that like we're doing crocodile tears for the employees, because part of that, in my feelings are, you're part of the problem. You didn't participate. You just decided that all along for this period of time we're going to take a little more, and we're going to vote people in that are going to give us more. There were no. They didn't look at what's going to come actually down the road. Remember Act 10? I don't remember, Matt. Remember the teachers that were circling the Capitol building?
In Madison, yeah.
And did I remember right that the firemen and policemen weren't connected with that? Matter of fact,
they were exempted from the cuts that were being proposed by the Walker administration.
I don't. And let's. Whoa! Didn't they endorse? The fire and police endorsed Walker in his recall out of Milwaukee. I know they did out of Milwaukee.
Yeah,
And we've endorsed Corey Mason multiple times. Fire and police multiple times. And you've kind of bypassed anyone else that may have had an alternative voice.
Or an alternative plan, yeah. Some other.
So I'm not going to, I'm not going to go out there and just like lay out here and say, "Oh, gee whiz, you poor guys and ladies that have gotten it." You haven't participated, and you want to say, "Oh, yes, I have. I participated." No, you haven't. You have not participated in your community to a degree that you need to understand the bigger picture. And there's a lot of things that go on in a city, Racine, that you just close your eyes to because my ox didn't get gorged.
Well, we hear it all the time. Boy, you guys are doing good stuff. We need to clean up the corruption in this town. This town is a mess. Blah, 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 blah. But they're always looking for somebody else to do it.
Right.
We're happy to do the work that we do. I mean, we enjoy this program and we enjoy exposing some of the stuff that's going on. There's a lot more than we've been able to show you. But, everybody's got to be a part of this. Democracy is a participatory sport. If you want this to get better, folks, you're going to have to pay closer attention. And we'll keep helping you with that.
Yeah, even the stuff that I talked about, capital improvement, that type of stuff, if people really knew how that stuff worked, believe me, the aldermen would be doing something about it. And that's one of the things we're trying to do in this show, too, is show how some of that stuff works. And I think we've got some really interesting stuff coming up that's going to find out just why some of these projects that are falling through in the city of Racine and why we can't balance the budget. And right now we're seeing why the police and fire or whoever it is, they're working on their health care and their pensions and whatever it is, why it's got to all fall on them. Well, it's because of this lack of participation.
Well, it was going to come. It was going to come. At some point it's going to come, but nobody wanted to wait for that day. Now all of a sudden it's like, boy, we're mad and we're ticked off. And, I sure hope those teachers help them.
Well, I tell you what, yeah, right. It goes back to people don't pay a real close attention to who they're electing to these public offices. And now we've got a city council that's completely dysfunctional. The city council approved those raises and wage increases that took place in what was it,
Or
August?
what Dave Brown was
August of
talking about. That's
2018, yeah.
amazing. Amazing that
They
they
just-
got
they
bullied into doing that.
They just let it waltz right through, and now
Should have been so obvious.
Yeah.
We got this little pot here, so these millions of dollars, and we're going to do this raise, and we're going to do it right now, and it's going to run out in 2 years. And the question came up, well, what happens after 2 years? Well, you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do. Well, here it is. We're here
Yeah.
now.
And okay, here's my thing. This is going to come up now in the next council meeting, and is this proposal to up the insurance premium deductibles to 3,000 and 6,000? Is it going to pass the common council? Does Corey Mason have enough votes to push this through?
that'll be interesting to see, because he's pretty much got a hand-picked council.
Right. But are they? Because these
Are
guys
they going to be loyal to him, or are they going to respond to the pressure that they're going to be receiving from their constituents?
correct? What do you think, George?
I'd have to count through them to just see how many he's got. There's some people, there's no way, like Taft and Meekma, and there's some people that are just
Shakur.
stuck with him. They're like,
They're in the pocket of the mayor, you saying?
Yeah. Siamese twins. That's the thing I'm trying to think of, where they're connected bodily to him. And I have to count how many like that. But it's. I think it's more than half.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all it's needed.
Doctor? What do you think?
What's the question again, Jim?
How do you think that Corey Mason has enough votes to push through this $3,000 and $6,000 deductible for the city employees?
I think he does, but whether or not they're going to remain loyal to him or they're going to succumb to the pressure of the police and fire department, which I know is going to be up in arms about this, they're ticked off.
Providing
And they're going to be talking to these council members. So
Well, it's got to
this
be
is going
more
to be
than
an
just.
interesting dynamic that takes place.
It's got to be more than just taking him off. They have to be concerned about losing their seat in the next election.
Because
That's the real bottom line. That's
Yep.
what everyone looks at. If
There's
I got-
plenty of
If I
material out
got
there.
reelected,
No,
I was right.
I don't think this council thinks that deeply. I think that they are not going to want to be disapproved by the police and fire department,
Okay. Well,
regardless of what the election implications might be. If you got a bunch of firemen and policemen coming to you and saying, "Listen, we need your help with this, George. We need your help with this," and they apply the pressure, could go either way. What do you think's going to happen?
I think it's going to pass, and I think it's going to pass at 8 or 9 votes in favor of passing. Because I think that Corey has that council, and we've said it before, locked up. And the threat of Corey Mason coming after you as a council member, if you don't vote the way I want you to vote, I think it's going to happen. I think the fire and police and the employees think that they have enough power or enough push to push this pushback on the alderman and the mayor. I don't believe you do. I actually believe now that you have enough. Corey has set enough of a infrastructure up there because some of you don't live in the city, to drag enough out. They can do a knock and drag. They don't care. You don't have a base here that's really thinking. So I think there's some issues, and I think Corey's going to win on this.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Yeah.
Yeah.
well, if he loses, he's got to still come up with something. With
Oh
these,
yeah. Well, even if he
millions of
loses,
dollars.
believe me, this isn't going away.
Yeah, this meeting is taking place when now? Find out where is it being held? What time? What place?
Well, 7 o'clock, Common Council.
7 o'clock. Common Council, City
Well,
Hall.
I'm sure it'll be there. I'm sure people will be there.
Yeah, show up.
Second floor.
And,
welcome.
that takes us to
And
the.
I'm sure they will be there.
Oh, yeah.
I'll bet you.
They'll be there.
That's going to be a packed.
That takes us to the subject of the other
council
meeting,
room.
which is these 2 TIF districts that are being proposed. And we don't know what in the heck is behind this exactly. I mean,
Somebody
Is
want to
it just-
explain it a
is
little
it-
bit, what this is?
well, here's what a TIF district is defined as in the state of Wisconsin statutes, Department of Revenue, Division of State and Local Finance. A tax incremental finance generates tax revenue that can only be used to fund infrastructure investment and other eligible projects that will facilitate private development. Now, they're talking about creating a TIF district, and one of the things they're using to promote this is that this is going to be potentially used or available for people to rehabilitate their houses, do work on their homes. Where the heck is that piece of paper? But it's basically they're saying, well, you know, there might be some money available for private homeowners to do some rehabilitation work. And when they do the definition of these districts, particularly the one over that I got a letter on, where the heck, there it is, right here. The way this is designed is, in accordance with Wisconsin state statutes, the Plan Commission has preliminarily determined that at least 50% of the area identified within the designated boundaries of the district qualifies as being in need of rehabilitation or conservation. Now, I happen to live in one of the districts, District 22. It runs basically from Gould Street to Melvin Avenue, and from the lake out to Rapids Drive and Gulf Avenue and George Avenue, all that stuff. So it's a long, narrow corridor, Gould to Melvin, from the lake to a mile or so west. I would like to know which 50% of that district is in need of rehabilitation. There's some nice homes in that area.
Well,
I don't believe that 50% of it is in need of a repair. I would like to see an inventory.
Let's explain a little bit about how this works. So your taxes, let's just take for example, let's say your taxes are $2,000 a year on your home. From this point on, anything that was above $2,000 that you would pay in taxes, your property would increase in value. Anything above that would be taken and put into this TIF district. And
So if your taxes went up, let's say $100 for inflation, any reason,
right,
goes up $100, $2,000 goes to where it normally goes, the city and the schools and the county and the state. That extra, how much did I say?
$100.
That extra $100 stays in that district. It stays with that neighborhood, what Doc explained.
but now also the increase in Unified and the county.
All the $100 all goes into it. In other words, all that $100 wasn't going to the city. That
Right.
extra $100 was getting divided up just the way the first 2,000 was. Some was going to the city, some was going to the school board, some was going to the state, and some was going to the county, some was going to the gateway too. But the point is that whole $100. So all those governmental entities loses, so to speak,
Right.
doesn't get
It goes
any
into
of that
this
money.
fund
It
that
goes into the
now is
fund.
distributed to the apparently homeowners.
Now it's going to stay in that district, and somebody it's going to amount to a lot of money because that's a pretty big district. You know, it's probably going to amount to $1 million or so. Just inflation will do that. And this is very interesting about these TIF districts. They don't redo the amount based on a 19 or 2020 dollar or $2015. If inflation takes the prices up 10%, guess what? That's included. That's counted as a 10% increase in the value. And what happens over with these entities is all their expenses go up by that 10%.
Right.
But they don't get that extra
Right.
money.
So what
to
this comes
cover
down
that.
to is, let's just take this insurance, asking this employees to ante up more for the deductible. That money, that extra money that may happen down the road here, does not go back to the city to be used in the coffers in the general fund to, say, for instance, pay premiums.
Nope,
So you
nope.
lose that.
But it stays in the district
It stays
there,
in
and
that
it's going to get
district.
spent there. Now it's going to be. I think we could save safely $1 million.
Okay, but let's just say who
gets the money?
Who gets the money?
Yeah,
Who-
how does that money
Right.
get distributed?
And who
That's it.
distributes it? Who's in charge of passing out those checks? That's the big question.
I think that's yeah.
This is to me, it's just so ripe for,
Corruption, abuse.
yeah.
Well, put yourself. You know, you as a person. You know,
If you're put in charge of the $1 million,
all of a
who
sudden
are
I
you
got
gonna
$1
give it
million
to?
for all these people around here, and it's my responsibility to dish it out. Well,
You think your friends are going
Just
to be
look
on
at
the
that.
top of the
Yeah,
list?
yeah.
Right.
That's it.
Exactly. Now here I want to go one thing. So what I did is it said the joint review board, they had a meeting and they apparently approved it. Well, the joint review board consists of a number of people that said, yeah, this is a great thing. Well, as I went through this, I realized the joint review board is the persons in these TID districts who are going to give up a certain amount of it. Corey Mason, representative of the city. Brian Nelson, Racine County, Bill Wyatt of Gateway, Brian O'Connell of the Unified, and James Palaniuk as the public member. You know,
How is he a public member?
So funny.
but I mean, it's the basis is here. So when you look at that, they're saying, "Oh yeah, this is going to be a good deal." I just don't see this such a large area actually working to the benefit of even that particular district. I just see it being misappropriated in so many different ways and crazy ideas, and we're talking 20 years.
Well, somebody's going to be paid to decide who gets the checks and
Exactly.
pass them out.
Right.
And
So
some
there's
people
so
are gonna
many
get some money.
there's so many people that could be involved in this, and we're talking about bureaucrats. Even if we make a board, you know, the board is going to have people on it that are going to be connected.
Well, I don't think it follows the state statute anyway, to begin with. Generates revenue that can only be used to fund infrastructure investment and other eligible projects that will facilitate private development. You know, getting a check to repair your driveway or the railing on your front porch or any of that other stuff does not follow that directive. It doesn't at all. Here's another thing that I noticed in here. This designation will not affect your property valuation. And then later on, the goal is to enhance the condition and value of the properties. It's not going to affect your valuation, but it could cause the value of your property to go up, which is going to raise your taxes.
Right. Well, which again, you know, is kind of the whole. But we're taking a large chunk of dough out of the general fund, and I don't care how they look at it. It's still anything
Yeah.
you take out of Racine is a problem. And how do you now? What's the plan? What's the overall plan here? You want to raise more money. You want to increase those values so it's a more taxable income for the city.
More taxable property, right?
Yeah. So that's the goal here. And there are programs that you can borrow money and fix your home up and fall into the same, you know, income levels that are here.
And that allegedly is what this is all about. I mean, the program that they want to enhance with the money off of this TIF was given $400 and some thousand at the beginning of the year, I
Right.
believe. That's gone.
Right.
That's used up.
Right.
So they're looking on refilling the coffers down there, and they want to do it with these two TIFs. This one between
It's
Main
just
and Gould
there's
and the other
just
one
not
on the
enough
south side.
information. I mean, I don't like it
No,
already,
I
but
don't either.
I just don't see enough information. I don't know to make an honest decision on something this large and impactful for 20 years. I just don't have enough information.
Well, I'm going to be there on Monday for this meeting, and I would recommend anybody else that lives in the district, if you're interested in how this money is going to be spent, show up, ask some questions. I really want to know that 50% of the area identified, I want to know the inventory that they're basing that on. Half of the homes over there are dilapidated and need repairs? Come on. That's crazy.
That's a good district up there. That's a good
Yeah,
area
it is,
across there.
yeah.
Well, and then the other district goes from the lake along from 12th Street
To the Coven.
to DeKoven, from the lake to Center Street, roughly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that encompasses a
That's
fair
the
amount
south
of...
side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the Gold Coast over there. So, I mean, I can see they want to kind of...
Well, there's some parts of it that are kind of sketchy, but
Right.
there's other parts that are very, very nice
Oh, some of the
properties.
highest priced homes are down
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, in the
the
whole
old
town.
Johnson home down there, and some of the new stuff they put
Right.
right along the lake is beautiful property.
Yeah.
And again, 50% of it is in need of rehabilitation, 50%?
Well, I think, again, there's no... I read the 22 and 23, and I just don't... when I got done with it, I'm thinking, okay, there's a lot of statistics here, but it's not telling me how this is going to be distributed, how it actually is going to function.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of variables there, way more than I would a chance to vote. Now, this is going to be voted on. Now, there's going to have their meeting on the 16th.
That's tonight.
Public hearing.
We're having, this show is
Yes.
Monday morning, that's tonight.
So they're going to have that meeting at the Planning Commission, and then on the 30th of the month, the Common Council gets it. Again, it's a hurry up. Let's hurry up and make a decision on this. I just don't see it. Here's my question: is the Common Council going to give the okay on this?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, this is
Yeah.
this,
This is a
gonna
no-brainer.
work.
You're going to love this one, yeah.
I mean, I just have a hard time saying, how do you make these decisions so quickly with just meager information?
And I think the biggest problem an alderman should have is what is it really doing? How do they really
what's the
gain
base?
from
Yeah.
it? I don't see the purpose in it, and it, at a time when we're really struggling to balance this city budget, this is taking money out of the general fund. I agree, there's a lot of room in there to chop expenses from the general fund, but I haven't seen anybody doing it. So until they actually start to show that they're going to do something about that general fund and something about, paying the city's bills, that you go into a program like this, it's just going to put more stress on that problem.
I agree. It'll be more stressful economically, definitely. So, what else have we got to talk about this morning? Well, they're finally going to come out with a statement about the Tyrese West killing.
Mm-hmm.
And that is supposed to be,
This week,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's been, 90 days now?
90+ days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're finally now, they haven't even revealed if there was a body cam on that officer or not to this point.
No.
Which is that's just crazy. That's irresponsible. I mean,
It is irresponsible.
Concerns me that they're withholding it for so long, because that does not
That doesn't
bode
bode
well,
for
for
transparency.
what's on that body camera.
Mhm.
What's on that record.
Well, and speaking of body cameras, I was talking to somebody else about that just today, and if they had these body cameras functioning well, there would be no need for police to write reports,
That
which
would
is
save a
something
lot of
that
time for
they've
police.
always complained about writing reports. It's busy work. It takes a lot of their time. These are high-priced, highly trained individuals that are scribbling reports about things that just happened, and
They have to be very detailed.
It has to be detailed.
Recall
If-
conversations. You have to do it right away, because otherwise you
Yep,
forget
it'll
over
lose
the
it.
next
Yeah.
couple of days.
so you're out of
Well, the other thing
action
is
loop
too,
for
if
a
you
while.
want to kind of skirt around a couple things, you're not going to be able to. That body cam is going to tell you exactly what happened.
Well,
Yeah.
And
You'd have to write down a little summary,
Well, you gotta
a
put
very
down
quick summary,
the
but all
weather
the
and-
details are on the body cam.
right.
And you know what? If they need to have a storyline there, if they need it transcribed, you pay a transcriptionist to do it.
No.
Transcriptionists are less expensive than law enforcement officers are. They would do a better job. And they wouldn't be needed for every incident, only those that
Right.
in some way become controversial. Which I think it has the potential of reducing the number of officers that we actually need out on the streets. Because instead of sitting and writing, the whole shift would be out
Well,
on the
that's
streets.
a very
basically.
good point, because you spend a lot of time writing up those reports, and a lot of them are just like traffic stops.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Right.
still have to write them up like crazy, because if somebody decides they're going to fight it for some reason, you have to have all the details down there of the traffic stop and what went on, and if the body camera has it all recorded, now he can be back out on patrol.
So that's
And that
another
was-
argument for body cams.
Yeah, it
Could be a tremendous saving realized there.
It's a good point. I hadn't
And,
thought about that one.
they're talking about
There's a
needing
fourth
millions of
reason for
dollars.
doing it. I got 4 reasons now for doing the
Yeah.
body cam.
Good, absolutely. We're going to keep an eye on those meetings that are taking place tonight. Hopefully we'll see some of you down there. And we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about everything else next week. We'll see you then. Thanks for being here.